In a deceptively quiet apartment complex nestled in the heart of Chicago, 22-year-old college student Sophia Beck lived a life defined by digital connection. She was a constant presence on social media, meticulously documenting her daily routine through a never-ending stream of photos, videos, and status updates. To her followers, she was an open book. To a predator, she was a target. The atmosphere shifted on one bitterly cold Friday night. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the silence was broken when Sophia sent a frantic voice memo to her best friend, Emma Reed. The recording didn't start with words, but with the haunting sound of heavy, ragged breathing. Then, in a trembling undertone that barely rose above a breath, Sophia whispered, "Emma, I think someone is inside my apartment." Before she could say another word, a blood-curdling scream tore through the audio, followed by the sickening thud of a struggle. Then, total silence. The voice note cut off. Emma frantically attempted to call her back, her heart racing as the phone rang out again and again. There was no answer. Within minutes, Sophia's digital footprint vanished. Her phone went completely offline, disappearing from the network. When the police arrived the following morning, the scene was a locked room paradox. The apartment door was bolted securely from the inside. The windows remained undisturbed, and there wasn't a single trace of forced entry or a desperate escape. When officers finally breached the door, the air inside felt unnaturally still. They froze at the sight. Sophia's body was positioned upright in a wooden chair, staged perfectly to face the window, looking out at the city she once loved. It was a macabre display, as if she had been carefully placed by someone who wasn't in a hurry. The most terrifying detail, however, was scrawled on the wall directly behind her. In jagged, dark red letters, a single, cryptic number stared back at the investigators. 17. The police were convinced the killer had left a deliberate signature, a breadcrumb in a twisted game. But as the investigation began, it became clear that this wasn't just a crime scene. It was the opening act of a living nightmare. The investigation hit a brick wall almost immediately. Detectives meticulously reviewed every second of the apartment building's security surveillance, looking for a shadow, a glitch, anything. But the footage told an impossible story. Nobody entered. Nobody left. From 10 p.m. onwards, the narrow hallway outside Sophia's door remained a ghost town, bathed in the sterile glow of flickering fluorescent lights. The perimeter was airtight. It defied all logic. If a cold-blooded killer had been in that room, how did they simply vanish into thin air? Detective Ryan Cole, a seasoned investigator used to the grit of the city, took possession of Sophia's phone for a deep-dive forensic analysis. He expected to find location data or deleted messages. Instead, what the forensics team uncovered sent a shiver through the precinct 2 hours after the medical examiner's estimated time of death. Long after Sophia's heart had stopped beating, her social media surged back to life. Someone or something had uploaded a new Instagram story from her verified account. The screen was a void, pitch black and haunting. In the center, stark white text appeared with a chilling message. "He is still inside." The post didn't just go live. It exploded. Within minutes, it went viral, sparking a digital firestorm. To the public, it was a sadistic game, a killer taunting the authorities from the shadows of the internet. To the more superstitious corners of the web, it was proof of something supernatural, a lingering presence that couldn't be caught on camera. But Detective Cole didn't believe in ghosts. As he stared at the glowing screen, he became convinced of a much darker reality. Someone was hiding a terrible, calculated secret, and they were far from finished. While the forensic teams processed the living area, detectives conducted a more invasive search of Sophia's private space. Tucked away in the dark, dusty corner beneath her bed, they discovered a leather-bound personal journal. It wasn't just a diary. It was a record of escalating paranoia. Several recent entries echoed the same chilling sentiment. I can feel eyes on me. Someone has been watching me from the shadows for weeks. As Detective Cole flipped through the frantic handwriting, he stopped at a page that contained no sentences, only 2 words written in heavy, trembling ink. Room 17. The investigators immediately pulled the building's historical records, and what they found sent a jolt of unease through the team. Apartment 17 wasn't just another unit. It had been an empty shell, abandoned for nearly 8 years. The air surrounding that room was thick with local urban legends. Neighbors whispered about a man who had lived there nearly a decade ago, a man who had mysteriously vanished into thin air one humid summer night. Despite a massive police search at the time, no body was ever recovered, and the case had eventually turned cold, leaving the room to rot in silence. However, as Detective Cole dug deeper into the dusty archives of the Missing Persons Report, he uncovered a horrifying genealogical connection that reframed the entire murder. The man who had disappeared from room 17 all those years ago shared a very familiar surname. His name was Marcus Beck. He wasn't a stranger to the victim. He was Sophia's own uncle. The 17 on the wall wasn't just a number, it was a homecoming. With a heavy iron crowbar, detectives forced open the rusted door to room 17. A thick, suffocating cloud of dust billowed out, and the air hit them with a sickening, sweet stench of rot and decay. As their flashlights cut through the darkness, what they saw nearly stopped their hearts. The room wasn't empty. The walls were a collage of obsession. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of photographs were pinned from floor to ceiling, all featuring a single subject, Sophia. There were faded snapshots from her early childhood, candid photos taken from the bushes outside her college campus, and, most terrifyingly, grainy, long-distance shots taken through her own apartment windows. This wasn't a recent fascination. Someone had been hunting her for years, documenting every stage of her life from the shadows. In the far corner of the room, amidst the filth, sat an old, humming computer tower. Remarkably, it was still running, its cooling fan whirring like a heartbeat. On the glowing monitor was a high-definition live security camera feed, streaming directly from inside Sophia's apartment. Every corner of her private sanctuary was visible, proving she had never truly been alone. As Detective Cole stepped closer to the desk, the cursor blinked, and a new message began to type itself onto the screen, letter by agonizing letter. You opened the wrong room. Exact second, a deafening metallic click echoed through the hallways, and the entire building plunged into pitch-black darkness. Every light, every exit sign, and every street lamp visible through the grime-covered windows shut off simultaneously. The only light remaining was the eerie, pale blue glow of the computer monitor. Detective Ryan Cole felt the hair on his neck stand up. He slowly leaned in, his eyes focusing on the glass reflection of the screen. There, standing perfectly still in the darkness directly behind his shoulder, was a tall, distorted shadow. The hunter was no longer watching through a lens. He was in the room.